Welcome back to Just Talking. We have a great guest for you today. It's Dr. Annette Bochenek, who is a film historian, author, and creator of Hometowns to Hollywood LLC. Dr. Bochenek, thank you so much for talking us today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me back. Yeah.
But for those who maybe not know about you, about the Hometowns to Hollywoods, what is it?
Yeah, so Hometowns to Hollywood is the name of a travel blog or travel website that I started just over 10 years ago now. And it comes from my interest in classic film in that I write about traveling to the hometowns of classic film stars and looking at how their lives and legacies are still being celebrated in their hometowns and beyond. So if there's a birthplace, like a statue, plaque, museum, whatever that exists in their honor, that's something that I really enjoy showcasing and writing about, of course, with the blog, my books, and also presenting about with my lecture series as well.
Well, where did it all start? Was there a first actor or actress that you're seeking out to see they were home? Did you come across it by accident? Where was like the first encounter of an actor's hometown?
Yeah, well, I would say it did stem from that interest for me and going to sort of like the first classic film star hometown for me did sort of happen by accident. The first museum that I visited in relation to like one of these actors' lives and legacies was actually the Oliver Hardy Museum in Harlem, Georgia. And that was again sort of purely by accident in that I was traveling semi near the area. I was in Augusta, Georgia for a conference and just looking through the hotel lobby brochures, they were promoting this Oliver Hardy museum. And I thought, what? Like, I loved Laurel and Hardy too, and made it a point to get a cab and go over there. And just thought how fun this is that this actor who had such a monumental impact on comedy was still being celebrated in their in their small hometown all these years later. And I learned through their brochures that there's so many other too, sort of golden age Hollywood stars who are still being honored in their hometowns, whether it's through museums or festivals or in other capacities. So that was sort of purely by accident, and sort of learning about that, I became a little more deliberate in finding out who else is from here when I did travel, and looking at even like locally, being a Midwesterner, looking at who else is from like say Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, etc., what I can get to and what I want to plan to go to as well.
How do you sort of select the hometowns themselves? Do you first, maybe you're watching a movie on TCM and you say, oh, where's Carol Lombard located or something like that? How do you kind of select them as you go along throughout the year?
Yeah, it sort of depends too. I mean, yeah, there are those sort of like big names like a Carol Lombard, for example, or even like an Elvis Presley, where there's got to be something somewhere in relation to them. And then it's fun to sort of go researching and see what you can find if there is a museum or like a plaque even, and to see how they are being honored. So sometimes I am deliberate in terms of just my own interests and the stars that I like to seek out and research, but even so, sometimes too, it's a little serendipitous where I say maybe I plan to go somewhere and then I start researching just based around that area who might have had a tie to that area and seeing what I could feasibly visit. And even writing it, if I'm watching a classic film or TCM and I see some actor or actress, like some character star who I just don't know, I have so much fun just reading about them and seeing where they're from and what, they did with their life and if there are any tributes to them. So it's really varied on that front, and just the same too, even with how these stars are remembered, if at all. So the legacies and how they're honored is again so broad and so varied.
I think that we brought up a good point because I credit some of these hometowns because there might be some celebrity that was from there, but they just, for whatever reason, just don't celebrate it and others do. So, was
Mhm.
there ever a star or celebrity that you tracked down that wasn't in that hometown or that you had to say, gee, no, this person's actually born in such and such town and go from there? Is it like a sort of a maze in a way?
Yeah, sometimes they sort of bounce around a little bit. Like one example for me is James Dean. So he's from, I think he was technically born in Marion, Indiana, but Fairmount is the town where he really had his strong ties and he sort of grew up and came of age there. And they're the ones who have the museum and the gravesite, all that. So there is a very strong tie there. And another one too, Jack Benny. I mean, famously, he says Waukegan, Waukegan, Illinois, this and that. But he was actually born in Chicago, but considered Waukegan, Illinois, his hometown, and sort of that town still embraces that legacy to this day, despite Jack again putting Waukegan, I think, on the map effectively with his show.
Was there anything that on the top of your head, like a museum that you were just so in awe about that went into detail about a museum that you can throw at
Yeah,
us?
absolutely. There are some really, really great ones out there. And one that I profiled most recently in volume two was the Ava Gardner Museum. And that is just a fabulously maintained museum and collection. And it's one of those museums that thankfully also has a strong tie to Ava's extant family. And they very much care about her and the legacy. So I think tributes to her are just exceptional there, and she's just in such good hands there in terms of her legacy with the museum, of course, her family and the state's involvement in curating and maintaining that collection, and the hardworking staff there, in addition to places that still stand in relation to her life and the gravesite also being there. So with Ava Gardner, there's a lot that's very close to the museum. And I'll say too, in terms of museums, in this most recent book too, Alfred Lunt's home, the Ten Chimneys estate, beautifully maintained property in Genesee Depot, Wisconsin, I believe, where he and of course his famous actress wife too, Lynn Fontanne, lived, and that is just exceptionally preserved and pretty much in the way that they would have remembered it. So with some of these museums and even some of these properties that still stand, you can still get the feel of sort of walking in their footsteps or getting, a stronger sense of who they were based on sort of what the collections are there that you're seeing and what you get to engage with and what's been preserved all these years later. So those are, I think, two of many, but many more are profiled. The Red Skelton Museum is in my most recent book, as well as, gosh, the James Dean Museum also purchased another property, so their collection has expanded too, since they still have a family member actively contributing still to the collection. I'll shout out the Jimmy Stewart Museum, the Andy Griffith Museum. There's a lot of great ones out there, thankfully, that are so special.
Yeah, and let me tell our viewers. So Dr. Annette Bochenek, wrote an excellent book, Volume One, which I have, and I also picked up the
Oh, yeah, volume two.
Volume Two. What do we got over here? Okay,
Uh-huh.
Volume Two.
Yes.
I highly recommend these books. So that's we're talking now about Volume Two. Last time we talked about Volume One. Now we'll talk about Volume Two. But yes, you're right about the museums with the Andy Griffith one, the statues and the museum. Just amazing too, as well. And where's that located? That
The Andy Griffith one, that is in Mount Airy, North Carolina.
Okay. And then the Red Skeleton. Now that is that the one with the clown parade? Is there
Yes.
like oh
Yeah. So that's in Vincennes, Indiana. So like further south in Indiana. But again, a fabulous collection, and I think largely so due to their wonderful staff and also family involvement. Since Lothian Skelton, his widow, is still involved and still contributing. She comes quite frequently to the museum. She was, I think, at a groundbreaking ceremony. They're expanding it to showcase more of Red's art collection. So it's really exciting when you do see these locations where there is a clear involvement from someone who very much cares about the legacy or was affiliated with that particular individual, and it's still thriving, I think, and staying relevant due to that, again, that distinct care and just prioritizing that legacy and thinking about how it could be still relevant today and how to market it.
for all these big actors that right, everybody thinks they're all from Hollywood and
Yeah,
they got the brand that it's from Hollywood, but they're from all over. If you look at
yeah.
their blog, it's like they're every state are in there. Do you see sometimes a general trend learning about their lives that from the background they came from or anything like that? Do you see like a trend in some in certain decades or anything like that?
Good question. I mean, I think so many of them, I think I just have that strong work ethic where they were maybe working from an early age, whether it was an interest or just due to circumstance. A lot of them just had really hard lives and backgrounds and came from families that, again, dealt with a lot of that hardship. And they saw the entertainment industry, especially films, as a way to change all of that, whether it was just to improve their own lives or improve lives for their families then and in the future. So there's a lot of motivation there where I think they just experience hardship and had this work ethic and feel for taking a chance on this growing, exciting new industry and means of storytelling. And yeah, it's fun that you mentioned too that a lot of people do have this assumption where like, yeah, everyone's born in California, they had access to the studios, they're right there. But studios were all over the place too. From out east, say in New Jersey and Chicago was such a hub for silent film too. A lot of talent was coming from there. Florida even had its own share of silent film studios, so it was varied. And it's even quite the opposite for me in terms of writing these books. Just the way the nation was settled, it's always harder to find West Coasters because of that reason. Everything kind of went like sort of east to west with that sort of trend of sort of settling the country, and then Hollywood eventually becoming what it is today. Took quite a bit of time. It was a lot of just unexplored land, orange groves, desert, etc. So that's reflected too, I think, just in our nation's history, and certainly speaks to the entertainment industry as well.
Now, the blogs they showed you do a great job breaking it by states, but there's been places where it's out of the United States. Did you travel abroad and or was it just, hey, I'm gonna call this person, send me the pictures and bio?
Yeah, so with the abroad ones, and yeah, I have not featured those in the book yet. I hope to one day do just like a domestic or an international edition rather than the usual like domestic ones I do. But yeah, I've been lucky to also travel abroad in several instances too, and it's also again fun seeing those tributes because some of these individuals, I mean, yes, we think of them as Hollywood stars, but Hollywood, just movie making as a whole, had a global impact, really. Stars like Orson Welles or like a Laurence Olivier, where, yeah, they have a far-reaching legacy and are going to have tributes all over the map, well beyond Hollywood.
And that's why I really credit you again, that you're not only doing it for yourself, but other people to show that, hey, there might be a hometown star right, next
Yeah,
door, that within driving distance or something like that, and you can learn about them as well. So,
absolutely.
we're out here in the Kenosha, Wisconsin area. Any Wisconsin, Illinois, stars that we should know about?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I feel like there's so many too that came again through eventually to Hollywood because of that Chicago tie to the filmmaking industry. And again, a lot came from big cities too in Wisconsin as well, like Milwaukee, Madison, etc. So some of the ones that I have profiled already in the past do include like Orson Welles, another one of those big global legacy type icons with a strong tie to Kenosha too, as his hometown there, and tributes to him to this day, as well as Spencer Tracy for Wisconsinites too. I think his legacy is a fun one too, since I do remember researching him and hearing about how he had such a hard time as a student. He kept getting expelled from schools left and right, like at the elementary level. And now one of the schools has a plaque that he's a distinguished alum, even though I had such a hard time. So I think that's so fun. But otherwise, yeah, Jack Benny I mentioned, Mel Torme, among many, many others too out there. I feel like the list goes on, just all over.
You also, last time I talked to you, you also had a love of musicals as well.
Yes.
In volume two, you pick out some great ones.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Esther Williams,
Yes.
Debbie Reynolds. Can you tell us a few about those from the golden age of musicals?
Absolutely. I think, well, Esther Williams in particular was great fun to write about because not only did she have that really unique career where, again, it was aquatic. She was the MGM's mermaid essentially. And when we look at Esther Williams musicals that she worked in, it seems that, again, a lot of what could have been an extended musical number or like a dance number was basically taken to the water, where instead of like a dance sequence, we'd get this gorgeous like water ballet performed by Esther Williams. And it's just within that context of a musical. And the studio, again, they had so many firsts with Esther Williams, thinking about how do you keep a star glamorous and her hair in place and her makeup intact when we put her down in the pool there? How do we film that? How do we keep her safe? Since Esther had a lot of unsafe situations too, and hardships that she dealt with. So lots of fun tributes to her, namely a few of them up in Mackinac Island, Michigan too, where she did stay on site at the Grand Hotel while they were making one of her musicals. And to this day, the Grand Hotel does have an Esther Williams suite that's all decorated with posters from her film career. And their pool is also famously the Esther Williams pool and has its own story as well, where MGM was still experimenting with swimsuits for Esther Williams, and they decided for a country look that they would weigh her down in like a plaid flannel swimsuit. So she had an embarrassing moment where the suit effectively took her to the bottom of the pool, and she had to deal with that while a lot of onlookers were nearby watching their favorite mermaid at work. So a lot of highs and lows to Esther Williams' career, but again, such a legacy, and she did return a few times too to the island. And then Debbie Reynolds, of course, a darling of musicals too, and someone where we're so lucky to have had as long as we did. I think she was just such a shining person and had such a wonderful legacy. And I think that speaks that legacy rather continues with the costumes, though, from that era that we do have preserved single-handedly through her efforts. We're so it's so unfortunate that she did not get to realize her dream of one day having a like Hollywood museum that showcased all of these costumes, since again she saw that preservation at a time when studios didn't and was buying up these costumes with the intent to preserve and display. But even though auctions happened since well, actually, within her lifetime, and again, these pieces she collected have been disseminated. At least they're preserved, and many of them, I think, in good hands, or even being displayed to this day because of Debbie and because of her foresight.
You're knowledgeable in the silent film era, and then also, like you said, with the Laurel and Hardy movies,
Yeah.
Billy Gilbert's also on it.
Yes.
Oh my God. Again,
Yeah.
people that don't know these, at least now, hopefully when they read about them, that actually go view some of their work too as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And Billy's a fun one. Again, he's one who I don't think is discussed as often, like in comparison to some of these other silent or pardon me, other like larger Hollywood stars, but hugely impactful in his own right. And one big characteristic for him is that he famously could sneeze so well and just drag it out for the camera and make it a good source of his comedy. So we hear that in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He's, of course, sneezy there, among other roles, too. And yeah, we also do get him famously in The Music Box, that famous, I think, Oscar-winning Laurel and Hardy short where they're dragging the crated piano up and down the stairs, and Billy Gilbert is also part of that chaos there, too. So,
Which you were at those stairs. You
yes.
took a picture of that. That
Yeah.
is very neat
Yeah.
that they're
Oh,
still
so
standing.
fun. Yes.
That's really cool. Um, well, now you talking about silent film era. Unfortunately, this is the part of the program I have to bring up because we lost a really big, talented individual who's played a part in the silent film, and that is the talented Mr. Jay Warren,
Oh,
who
yes. Yeah.
definitely, you knew him more than I did, and I know you did many presentations with her at the Film Society. Your remembrance of Mr. J. Warren.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jay Warren was a delight. Like he just embodied the Silent Film Society of Chicago, as far as I'm concerned, and just had such a gift in terms of just bringing these silent films to life. I always emphasize in my talks that just because a film is silent and technically, like all you get really preserved, really is film footage that is quiet, and they were by no means enjoyed in silence. There was always some sort of a sound component, whether it was like a live orchestra, someone providing accompaniment, or even just sound effects too, to just bring that story to life. And Jay did exactly that at a time that's, again, like we're looking at these silent films, many of them over 100 years old, and here we are enjoying them a century plus later, and we had him to thank. And I think that is such a gift, not only to be able to maneuver various organs and all their bells and whistles. There's such fun and skill in that, but to also, in effect, when you are accompanying these films, you sort of wind up. not only focusing on the film itself, but the audience winds up being so immersed in the film that they sort of forget you're playing. They immerse themselves in that film as a reality. And I had so many instances of that where I was watching a silent film, some of them quite long, like some of them are like 2, 3 hours. And I think like, my goodness, like what a film that was. And to come back to the reality of, oh my goodness, Jay was playing for that whole entire time. I was sitting back and passively enjoying, and he is actively thinking about every scene, every moment, and I'm sure rehearsed some of a great deal of those films and sort of what effect he's going to play where, what sort of interlude he's going to play when. So there's a lot of choreography there and a lot of careful organization too. And there's just no one like him. I'm going to miss Jay so much. I have. It's already been just over a year since he passed, but what a legacy he left behind, and how much joy and entertainment he brought to so many people over the years when he was, of course, accompanying those films. And I do wish for the best for the Silent Film Society of Chicago. We've had some tribute events in his honor since then. But again, what a talent he was. And I'm so grateful and so lucky that I was able to contribute a few film introductions. I think just over 30 times for some of Jay's screenings, and bring context to some of these films before I got to sit back and just enjoy the show too while Jay played.
Yeah, I saw one. I think you guys did the Nosferatu at the patio, and
Oh yes, yeah.
that's a nice thing. Also, you're not only showing, getting information about the film, seeing the
Mm,
film, but also in an old time theater, and many of them
yeah.
that's where he performed too as well. Um,
Exactly. I think,
so
yeah,
yeah,
another thing that just made it so special is just seeing those films in that context where you're with other people, they're reacting to the same thing. Yeah, you're in a theater that reasonably could have played those films back then. So it was fabulous. Yeah.
one area that people have to see is not also your presentations. I think you do them at like the public libraries or
Yeah.
Zoom, and let's hear about the presentation because you have many in the back pocket. I know that listed
Oh my
that
gosh,
there's
yeah.
so many. What presentations and talk about any upcoming presentations we can hear about.
Oh, sure. Yeah, so I do have a variety. A lot of them I do present in person at various public libraries in the Chicago area and beyond. I was actually over in Delavan a few weeks ago too, so I do come up to Wisconsin as well,
Oh.
and a lot on Zoom too. That I feasibly couldn't travel back and forth to as often. So a lot that you can tune into virtually as well. And I do have all of my presentations listed on my website. So if you need to, just see times or register for some of them, they're all on the website at hometowns2hollywood.com/events. So if you visit the main page, you'll see the events page there. And I do have quite a bit coming up too. I think, and quite a few new ones as well. I have a few new ones in relation to Shakespeare being depicted in classic Hollywood films. So some of his works that were adapted for the screen, like Midsummer Night's Dream, Romeo and Juliet, things like that. And some new ones in the mix as well, including one about Robert Redford, who sadly we lost also not too terribly long ago, and delving into his impact and his life and legacy with the Sundance Film Festival and more. And then, yeah, gosh, as far as some additional ones too, we do have coming up in April, April 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's that Robert Redford program, so that's going to be online. And then also in terms of an online program that someone might be interested to, we also have a talk on Betty White coming up in April as well, April 23rd from 1 to 2 o'clock Central Time, and that is also virtually available. And among many, many more too. So I strongly encourage visiting the website and seeing who you're interested in and what you can maybe attend. So there's always a mix, but always in relation to classic Hollywood, whether it's comedy, drama, or individual stars. There's a lot there to enjoy.
And let's talk about that website because again,
Yeah.
that's just another wealth. I was just on there looking at your Blondie stuff. Just
Oh
amazing.
yeah.
But for those who don't know about the website blog, let's hear all about it.
Yeah, and so the blog itself is hometowns2hollywood.com. So that's where I log all my articles and entries, and I break it up by state too, or country if it's one of those international entries. But you can look up where your favorite stars are from and see how they're being remembered there by state. But I also do write beyond that. So I'll write pieces about different, films I've seen and sort of write about their production and their history, as well as plays or book reviews too that are in relation to Golden Age Hollywood in some capacity. And yeah, you mentioned the Blondie piece. I do have a section there that's sort of like I call it like an editorial, like miscellaneous section there too, where it's not really a hometown or anything, although I do hope to write about Penny Singleton and Arthur Lake at some point. But there's also sort of a catch-all, like miscellaneous section there too, where I'll write about, say, different serials or even, comics turned movies, which was the case for Blondie there too, and talk about their those productions and the legacies there and how those might also be honored. So. Yes, Blondie's among my favorite old-time radio shows, and you'll see a healthy amount of old-time radio representation too in these entries as well.
And then where can people go? Is it on the Hometowns to Hollywood's volume one and two?
Yes.
Where's the best place they can either order
Yeah,
them
so
or?
yes. So the blog itself is hometowns2hollywood.com. The books are available on Amazon in ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So you could feel free to look for Hometowns to Hollywood there and purchase them as well. I do have to say, very excitingly so, I am volume two actually is stocked at the Ava Gardner Museum. So you can go to their gift shop online and purchase that book since Ava's featured in volume two. So you can definitely purchase from them as well. And I do hope to. I have nothing set up just yet, but sometimes there are like local author events too, which I do promote on my website. And that means that I'll just be on site selling these books as well, paperbacks, which is how I how I sold them to you when we
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
and you
can
get to
fly out there
meet
to
the
Elmhurst.
authors. They got some great events, and you can even get a signed copy of it as well. So that's
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
all this. Do you think there'll be a number three coming up?
Absolutely. Yes,
Okay.
I'm so close. I'm just one more chapter shy, and then I'll start to format volume three. So I have high hopes of having volume three available hopefully this summer 2026 at some point. So I'm getting there, almost there.
Before I close, the one thing I gotta to make this thing go full circle, if there is a committee in your hometown, I would love to see like either a film festival or a statue of you because what you've done is just keep their memory alive all from across the country and then also to learn about. I mean, just
Oh, yeah.
your research is just top notch. So I hope you get recognized in some form over the years.
That would be great fun. Thanks so
Uh,
much, though. Yeah, I'll pass along to Mount Prospect, Illinois. Wait for my statue, right?
there you go. The one where you play the violin. That's the
Oh,
one.
yeah, there we go. You're right.
So, but no, in all honesty, you do great work. The books are terrific. The blog and website is terrific, and it's for us to enjoy. So, once again, Dr. Annette Bochenek, thank you so much for talking with us today. It's the Hometowns to Hollywood Volume 2 that is out now as number one. And thank you so much for talking with us today.
Thank you. Thanks so much.